All right, big news coming in. The G bill has been passed in the lower house of Parliament, but not without an uproar from the opposition. There's been a huge showdown in Parliament over the G bill. We believe the opposition even tore the G bill, and the Lok Sabha speaker lashing out at them. The Lok Sabha speaker had said that the whole nation is watching you, obviously referring to the opposition MPs in Parliament, while Shivraj Singh Chauhan has said Manrega is nothing but a tool for corruption.
नरेगा का नाम पहले महात्मा गांधी जी के नाम पर नहीं रखा गया, वो तो नरेगा थी। बाद में जब 2009 के चुनाव आए तो चुनाव और वोट के कारण बापू याद आए, महात्मा गांधी याद आए और तब उसमें जोड़ा गया महात्मा गांधी जी का नाम। लेकिन माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं निवेदन करना चाहता हूं, इस मनरेगा को भी अगर ताकत के साथ किसी ने ठीक ढंग से लागू किया तो वो हमारे प्रधानमंत्री श्रीमान नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने लागू किया।
Akhilesh is joining me on the phone line. Akhilesh, high drama inside the Lok Sabha, and after that we saw the passing of the G bill.
There was fierce opposition from the opposition benches. All the many MPs that had come into well, and they were shouting slogans, they were raising slogans, they were protesting, they were demanding that this G bill should be referred to a Parliament Standing Committee or a Joint Parliamentary Committee. In fact, some members threw papers and they threw it to the chair and also in the air. And to that, Speaker objected. He said that you have been sent people here to raise their voice, not to tear paper and throw them in the air. This is what the Speaker has pointed out. But the Agriculture Minister and the Rural Development Minister, Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan, was very firm in his reply. He answered all the points. He also told the opposition MPs that they were given enough chance to raise their voice, to point out all the issues about this current bill. But despite that, now it's my turn. You should listen to me. But the opposition MPs did not relent, and after that, this bill was passed. Now the House is adjourned till 11 a.m. tomorrow. Tomorrow is the last day of winter session of Parliament, and before that, it is expected that maybe today this bill will be sent to Rajya Sabha, and Rajya Sabha will discuss and pass it today itself.
Raj Singh Chauhan calling the Manrega corrupt, but also adamant in terms of the government on the penultimate day of winter session of Parliament, Akhilesh, to ensure that this bill passes in the lower house of Parliament.
That's correct, because the government has been pointing it out that there have been deficiencies as far as this current Manrega scheme is concerned. There are wide-scale reports of irregularities in this scheme. There are corruption cases which have been pointed out in various reports of audit also, and the state governments have also not fulfilled their duties. This is what the government has been pointing out. That's why they have been they are in the opinion that this bill should be repealed and the fresh bill should be brought in to increase the number of days from 100 to 125. These are all the provisions which are there in this G bill. But the opposition parties were protesting not only for the repealing of the earlier Manrega, but they also pointed out that why Mahatma Gandhi's name was removed from the bill, to which Shivraj Singh Chauhan said that Mahatma Gandhi lives in their heart. And it is not a question of changing the name, because when Congress was there, they also changed the name of Jawahar Rozgar Yojana, and they dropped and removed Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's name.
Akhilesh, do stay with me. Huge showdown in the Lok Sabha. You've had the bill being passed, but amid an uproar inside the lower house of Parliament with opposition MPs tearing that bill. Let's just listen in to reactions.
हाथ मत खींचो यार। और एकदम ठोस विरोध करेंगे। सब पार्टियां, सब सहमत हैं। इस बिल से मनरेगा खत्म होने जा रहा है। आप किसी भी तरह से इसको देखें। मोबाइल पीछे नीचे करो यार भाई। जो समझदार आदमी है, जो ये 100 दिन से 125 दिन वाला जो है, ये चालाकी है। मोबाइल नीचे करो भाई। हेलो। अगर इस बिल को कोई भी पढ़ेगा, नीचे करो ना, ये साफ स्पष्ट समझ आएगा कि इस बिल से आने वाले महीनों में ये पूरी स्कीम खत्म हो जाएगी। क्योंकि जैसे ही ये बोझ प्रदेश की सरकारों पर पड़ेगा कि इतना पैसा प्रदेश की सरकारों को देना है, वैसे ही आस्ते आस्ते ये स्कीम खत्म हो जाएगी। क्योंकि प्रदेश की सरकारों के पास इतना पैसा है नहीं। खास तौर से जो प्रदेश जिनमें सबसे ज़्यादा स्कीम की ज़रूरत है, और ये सबसे गरीब जो हिंदुस्तानी है, गरीब से गरीब जो हमारा भारतीय नागरिक है, जिसको कुछ नहीं मिलता, कम से कम ये 100 दिन का जो रोज़गार था उसका सहारा था, कोविड के समय भी सहारा था, मुश्किल से मुश्किल परिस्थितियों में सहारा रहता। मैंने पहले भी कहा, जैसे दूर से दिख जाता है कि मनरेगा का कौन है श्रमिक, तो ये एकदम श्रमिकों के खिलाफ है, मजदूरों के खिलाफ है, गरीबों के खिलाफ है, और इसका हम सख्त से सख्त विरोध करें।
क्या आप लोग
एयर पोल्यूशन पे चर्चा नहीं हुई, हाउस एडजर्न कर दिया गया, आपको बोलना भी था शायद।
मेरा प्रश्न तैयार था, लेकिन अब शायद अगले सेशन में हो जाएगी तो बोलेंगे।
Akhilesh still with us. The lower house of parliament adjourned till tomorrow. Just a reference there on the pollution debate, which is unlikely now, given that the Lok Sabha has adjourned till tomorrow. But going back to Akhilesh, unexpected lines, Akhilesh, Priyanka Gandhi reacting there. She's been leading this whole issue and this fight for the opposition, both inside parliament and outside. Once again reiterating that this bill that has just been passed in the Lok Sabha is anti-poor.
That's correct. In fact, they are saying that it is a big injustice to the poor of the country, because it was ensured that they will be given 100 days work, and also there was no discontinuation of the work, and there was no provision that in the peak season the work will not be given to them. So this is one contentious point on which the opposition parties are also protesting and demanding that this provision should be removed, that during peak season the workers will not be given any job under this scheme. They are saying that it is injustice to them, and that's why they are calling it a anti-poor bill. On the other hand, the government says that there is a provision that cumulatively they can have a cap of around 60 days. So this is not something which is new. Even during UPA time, when Sharad Pawar was the agriculture minister, at that point of time also Pawar had suggested that there should be some kind of relaxation during the peak season, because the workers are needed for sowing and harvesting time. So this is what the suggestion was given that point of time also. But now the government is very clear. They wanted this bill to get passed in the current session itself, because the government is very keen that the scheme is implemented from the 1st of April 2026. Remember, this time 60% is given by the central government and 40% by the state government. So they need to have provisions in their respective budgets for this G Ramji scheme. That's why the government is very keen that this bill should get passed in this current session also. We just spoken to a Parliamentary Affairs Minister who has confirmed that today itself, after the Shanti bill, this bill will be brought into Rajya Sabha.
All right, so the big takeaway there, and Akhilesh, do stay with me, is that this bill will also hopefully be passed, according to what Akhilesh is saying, in the Rajya Sabha today itself. Remember, tomorrow is the last day of the winter session of Parliament. But let's once again focus on that moment that you see on your screens, where opposition MPs stormed the well of the House in the Lok Sabha and tore the G Ramji bill. Here's the reaction from the Lok Sabha Speaker.
एक सपना, एक संकल्प जो इस योजना के माध्यम से हम पूरा करना चाहते हैं, वो संकल्प, सपना और संकल्प है।
सदस्य, आपको देश की जनता ने कागज फेंकने के लिए नहीं भेजा है, आपको चर्चा करने के लिए भेजा है, और मैंने कल सभी मान्य सदस्यों को पर्याप्त अवसर, पर्याप्त समय चर्चा के लिए दिया है। ये संसदीय परंपराओं के अनुरूप भी नहीं है और भारत के लोकतंत्र के अनुरूप भी नहीं है। माननीय मंत्री।
Akhilesh still with us. Akhilesh, just very quickly recap for our viewers all that the Agricultural Minister has said in the lower house of Parliament today, defending the government's stand, defending the bill and in support of this bill.
Well, he answered all the objections and points raised by the opposition MPs. Remember, this debate on this bill went till late last night. Around 1:30 the House was adjourned. So all the MPs had put their point of view across. But Rural Development Minister, Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan, when he stood up to reply, he answered all the objections and points raised by the opposition MPs. First, on the point of renaming the bill, he told very clearly that as far as Mahatma Gandhi is concerned, he lives in their hearts, and it was Congress also which had changed and removed name of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, from the Jawahar Rozgar Yojana. On the second issue of creating jobs in the rural areas, he told very firmly that during the UPA time, the Manrega scheme actually just was not creating any jobs, but in our scheme, the G Ramji scheme, jobs will be created and some construction, some infrastructure will also be created. He mentioned that how schools and Pathshalas and also Aushadhi Shala and all these Anganwadi, they will be constructed through the G Ramji scheme. And third point was about the gestation in the peak hours, peak season. So on that, he told very clearly that this provision is there to ensure that agriculture output is not.
Reactions coming in, just hold on Akhilesh, I will come back to you.
आपने देखा है इतिहास जो है एक कार्यकाल, एक चाहे राजा हो चाहे उनके युगों के नाम से जाना जाता है, तो ये राम युग है। तो अब जिसका काम नाम आया उन्होंने वो नाम रखे, तो अब जब राम का वक्त आया तो वो अपना नाम रखेंगे।
All right, BJP MP Kangana Ranaut, they're saying that this is Ram Yug. Himanshu also live with us on this big story, political story coming out of Parliament. Himanshu, high drama inside the Lok Sabha. We're expecting that this bill will be cleared by the Rajya Sabha within the next few hours as well, according to information from Akhilesh. But in terms of the opposition's criticism of this bill, one issue that really stands out is the burden that the centre will be sharing with the states financially, which many of the opposition leaders and parties are not okay with.
That's right. It's important to remember that in the existing Manrega law, almost 90% of the total expenses on implementing the world's largest rural employment guarantee scheme was borne by centre so far. But the new bill has a provision that the sharing of the funding of Manrega, the new law for rural employment guarantee, the G Ramji bill, has a provision for a 60-40 sharing of the funds. That essentially means that centre now will bear 60% of the total cost of implementing world's largest rural employment guarantee scheme, while the states will have to bear 40% of the cost. As of now, as of today, the existing law has a provision where centre funds 100% of the total wages that has to be paid for the unskilled labour and to workers who are unskilled who get employment under the existing Manrega law. And while the operational expenses are taken care of by the states. But the fundamentals have changed. The funding pattern will change now once Rajya Sabha approves this new law. And after that, even government's allies like TDP have said that it will increase the burden. I spoke to TDP MP Lavu Krishna, and he was very categorical in saying Andhra Pradesh is a cash-strapped state. It's a revenue deficit state. And we expect the centre to help us with more funds to ensure that we keep implementing this new law. So I think those states who are struggling with finances, a concern has been expressed by several opposition parties that if a state government doesn't have the requisite funds, this could have an impact on the right to work that is enshrined in the world's largest rural employment guarantee scheme. So we'll have to wait and see how centre deals with these questions that have been raised with regard to the changes in the funding of the world's largest rural employment guarantee scheme. But for now, it is all set now to be taken up in Rajya Sabha. Tomorrow is the last day of the winter session, and government, of course, wants to push this bill in Rajya Sabha as early as possible to ensure that in next year's budget, because the next year's budget is also now being prepared, so the financial allocations that are needed can be made by Finance Minister in her budgetary proposals in the budget that will be presented on 1st February 2026.
Himanshu, you have Priyanka Gandhi coming out and saying that we will oppose this bill. But we've seen it pass in the Lok Sabha. Obviously, the numbers with the centre in the Lok Sabha. How can we see the Congress take this further is my question. Because in the coming hours, and like you said, tomorrow is the last day of the winter session of Parliament, we could expect this bill to be cleared in the upper house as well. So what are the options for the Congress in the coming days to take this up in a stronger way other than just inside Parliament or protesting outside with opposition MPs?
Well, Vedika, you raised an important question. I remember Rahul Gandhi in his first tweet when this bill was introduced yesterday, very rightly said that we will take our protest Parliament to the streets. And today also Manikam Tagore, who is the chief whip of the Congress party in Lok Sabha, has told NDTV that we are now planning their protests, their concerns about changes in the world's largest rural employment guarantee scheme to the streets. And I think once the Parliament session is over, we will see more and more protests from the Congress workers in different parts of the country. Sources have also told us that the Congress Working Committee meeting is also being called in the last week of December to deliberate on Congress's strategy in terms of raising their concern before people, because the party firmly believes that the changes that have been made in the existing Manrega law will weaken the right to work, which was enshrined in the earlier law.
All right, do stay with me, Himanshu, because there are more reactions coming in, this time from the centre.
Bagele Sukmi sir, when Shivraj Singh Chauhan was replying on the BBG Ramji bill, there was papers that were torn in court of him. Lok Sabha Speaker also stated that the entire country is watching. How is that behavior that you see of the opposition?
आज का विपक्ष का व्यवहार बहुत ही निंदनीय है। डेमोक्रेसी में इन चीज़ों के लिए कोई जगह नहीं है। माननीय स्पीकर साहब ने और सरकार ने देर रात तक, बहुत देर रात तक 12:34 तक इस बिल के ऊपर, राम जी के ऊपर बहस कराई और सभी लोगों को अंतिम व्यक्ति को भी बोलने का अवसर दिया। 12:34 रात बहुत होते हैं। इसके बावजूद उन्होंने अपनी बात कह ली थी, विरोध दर्ज अपने बयान में किया था, लेकिन आज जिस प्रकार से कागजों को फाड़ करके।
All right, so you have the BJP, you have the government condemning the act by the opposition MPs in the well of the House, where they tore the Ramji bill that was presented to them. But just moments later, that bill was passed amid, of course, an uproar and all of them storming to the well of the House. Himanshu still with us. Himanshu, very quickly to recap for our viewers, just take us through the differences between the Manrega and the Ramji bill.
Well, the earlier Manrega law, which still is in force today in the country, had a provision for providing a minimum 100 days of employment to unskilled laborers.
रौंदते हुए जिस तरीके से अपना आचरण सदन में दिखाया, ये कतई स्वीकार्य नहीं है। आप विरोध कीजिए, विरोध का अधिकार है आपको। अगर परेशानी है, अपनी परेशानी को आप व्यक्त कीजिए, ये अधिकार है आपको। पर मर्यादाओं को ध्वस्त कर आप अपनी सोच को बढ़ाना चाहें, ये कतई स्वीकार्य नहीं हो सकता। जिस तरीके से चेयर को आज अपमानित किया गया, जिस तरीके से कागज फाड़े गए, उसको हवा में उड़ाया गया, प्लेन बनाए गए कागज के, वो चेयर की तरफ फेंके गए, और हद तो तब हो गई जब कांग्रेस के सांसद चेयर के सामने खड़े हो गए। इस तरीके से मर्यादाओं को तार करके आप अगर अपनी बातों को रखेंगे तो ये कतई परंपरा के अनुसार नहीं है और इसको कतई स्वीकार नहीं किया जाएगा। अगर आपको विधेयक को लेकर कोई चिंता है, आप अपनी बातों को रखिए। और कल 8 घंटे की चर्चा हुई है भैया, 99 लोगों ने उसमें पार्टिसिपेट किया है। पूरा मौका आपको दिया गया अपनी बात को रखने का।